Machine Gun Kelly, Conor McGregor, whatever happened there or didn't happen or spoof, whatever they're doing, it proved to be very helpful for both of them because people are still talking about it. The media is still out there, but I saw Brendan Schaub breaking it down. And Brendan Schaub was breaking it down from the standpoint that there's a lot of people that were at that event. It's a nerd event, right? I mean, I can't defend Conor being there. This is an elitist group for a special level of prick that would ever show up at something like this. But within the people that were there, apparently about 60-40 was the split on people that thought Machine Gun Kelly could beat up Conor McGregor had they got into it. So far that Brendan even had to break this down. And Brendan had it spot on, which is say, you're out of your mind. Machine Gun Kelly might be a tough guy in your little group. He's not to be compared to a professional fighter. Now, you might think that those words don't need spoken, but they do. And that will never go away. There's always a guy in every group where that group is convinced that's the guy, but they don't have experiences with the guy of other groups. They just don't have those experiences. I mean, I can tie this back to all of the myths that we've ever heard of in MMA. Number one myth you've heard of in fighting is Bruce Lee, for sure. But along that same vein, whether it was Bruce or it was Steven Seagal or it got kicked over to Gene LaBelle and some of these other guys that just weren't legit, they all could tie themselves to one location, which was Los Angeles, California. They would go and beat people up in their garages and in their backyards. Those people that they would beat up that had no other frame of reference of who a tough guy was, decided it was that guy. They then got inundated in the media world, became writers and scriptwriters and actors themselves someday, had a medium to perpetuate what happened in those backyards and in those garages with no frame of reference of what a real tough guy would do. And that's how it lives. I don't begrudge that. I'm all for it. I've just identified it. It's a real thing that you have to deal with, to the point that Brendan Schaub thought he had to come out and make a piece trying to explain to Team Machine Gun Kelly, have your thoughts, but don't ever actually test it. It's not going to go well for you, even if Conor's on one leg, which is true. Even on one leg, Conor McGregor does whatever he does with this Machine Gun kid in record time, right? Okay. I had a run-in like that one time. I never knew. And you live so close to the trees, you can't see the forest at times. And I lived so close to this, knowing who was who, studying it, being in the room, practicing every day, living in that circle. I was at a high school, and I was doing something called sports science. And they had brought in an NFL player. He was a running back for the Kansas City Chiefs. And all he's going to do is have a football. And then there was Houston Alexander and Krzysztof Szczynski, King Mo, and I. And we're going to try to take the ball from him. That's it. He's going to have the ball. He's going to run by, and we're going to try to take the ball. And they were breaking down some kind of a sports science. How that went is subsequent to my point as I'm walking from the classroom, which they served as our holding area, to the field to go and actually film this. I come through the school. And through the school, I end up in these conversations with the school kids between classes, and they begin telling us, King Mo, myself, Krzysztof, who's in Houston Alexander, how incredible Kimbo Slice is. Now, the four of us as real fighters knew that Kimbo was very rare, very raw, rather, very green in fighting, but that he was marketable and he had this great look and he had muscles and nobody was looking to put Kimbo down. The sport was better off having him in it. He was drawing enough attention to then get over to the guys with real skills. Hey, we'll cover you, Kimbo. You'll cover us, right? You're going to bring in the house to cover us. We're going to show these guys real skills. Everybody goes home happy. But these high school kids didn't know that. And all they knew is that Kimbo had knocked another guy out in a main event over the weekend in less than a minute. And those kids are right. I knew that. I knew that lesson at one point in my life. I forgot it. I forgot that perception is reality and the way that something is portrayed. I forgot the skills of controlling the lights, the camera, and the action, the placement on the card, the build-up, the B-roll, and then the big knockout with the announcers at the end. I forgot. These kids had reminded me. But now I fast forward all of this time, and I'm watching Brendan Schaub have to give almost a warning to this dirthead community that apparently Machine Gun Kelly backs up to, hey, don't ever actually cross this line. You stayed out of reach of Conor McGregor. You stayed out of camera view. Continue to stay there. This celebrity boxing thing isn't real, at least not for you, Kelly. And if you do go and do it with an Aaron Carter or do it with a Vanilla Ice. Don't come over and do it with a real guy, even if our guy happens to be on one leg. He will be too much for you. That seems obvious, right? It seems obvious. But it's not, apparently, at least not to them.